we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
Half the stuff before they do what I call nasty.
I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
These were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with Matthew Moses. We are still here!
We have to say yes to social
Let you know tomorrow. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Anti-News, the place where we drink the drinks and smoke the smokes and watch the world burn together and have a good laugh at it. Actually, we're not doing that today. Kill the music. I am here joined by a very special guest, and you already know who it is because his big, fat, ugly face was all over the billboard on the way in to town. But before we get into that, I got to remind you about you guys in the Downers Club. People like Dickie Walnuts just joined today. Lauren Carter, Representation Zero. Shannon is in the chat. Shannon, what is happening? She says, what's up, party people? And I'm going to ignore all the rest of you because she's here. You're not. Get over it. John Odermatt, Tim Brown, Aaron Stewart, Howie Snowden, Nathan Sipes, Brian McWilliam, Champion Button Academy, David White, Lucas something, John Barnhouse, William Wells, and other people are in there. If you want the bonus stuff, where this is going to be available. This is a bonus episode. This is an exclusive bonus episode that only people in the Downers Club will get once it's done. But until then, enjoy and hang out. But if you want all the bonus stuff, if you want weekly bonus stuff, go on over to patreon.com/The System Is Down. Get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content. Patreon.com/The System Is Down. Bonus episodes every single week. And we are also sponsored by, I don't have to say this, but I want to because they're new and they're fun and I like talking about them. We've got some new swag up in the swag store at thesystemsdown.tv/store. Things like, of course, Let's Go Brandon. The brand new Let's Go Brandon shirt. Show your support of Brandon and everything Brandon stands for with the new Let's Go Brandon shirt with Joe Biden's face on it. Also, I survived the Forever Purge, and all I got was this spicy flu. That one was made by the request of Shannon Lee, who's in the chat because she's cool. Yeah, she's a Floridian, and amazingly, I don't know how, she's still alive. You can also get the Soylent 19 because the vaccine is people. And that's it for now. Thesystemsdown.tv/store. That's enough for the plugs on this here episode because we got to get into what we're here for. Earlier today, I recorded like 3.5 hours of stuff for you guys, and in that process I said, I think I'm done podcasting for the week. And then as soon as I was done, I texted Craig and I said, hey Craig, you want to do a thing?
We've been trying to do a thing for a specific amount of time now.
It has been at least a specific amount of time, more or less, but it's been a hot minute. I've got a lot of new people that weren't around back in the good old days when you co-hosted this show, and we called it the Anti-News, and now it's just called whatever the hell it is. But
what do you call this thing now?
I just call it The System Is Down.
Oh, I feel like I've heard that before. Isn't that they sing Chop Suey, right?
Yes, they sing BYOB and Chop Suey, and that's it.
No, there was one more. What's the other one? I lost it. Nope, it's gone.
Anyway,
we had two popular ones around Chop Suey. There was another one that was just as popular, but I can't think of the name of it.
And you guys wonder why I fired him.
Toxicity
of our city, of our city. Yes. So for those that don't know, Craig is my alleged biological sibling of male persuasion. I
Hey,
bel
are you assuming my gender?
yes, I have seen your penis.
I have two, but that doesn't mean I'm a.
I have
doesn't
too,
mean
but
I'm a
even
man.
I'm not convinced. um,
I saw it a couple times.
so let's give a little recap. You were on the show for a long time, and then you left mysteriously and started your own
No,
spin-off show. I'm pretty sure you left
a
to try and steal my
yes.
following or something.
All right, this is exactly how
I
this
don't.
went
I
down.
might be remembering a few of the facts incorrectly.
I think so.
Let's hear your side
So it
because I'm
started.
always fair and I like to get both sides of the story. And
Okay,
I
so
won't
about
talk over you while you try to do it.
5 years, 5 years ago or so. How long's your show been going for? About
I
5
don't
years,
know.
right?
5, 6, something like that.
Probably about because I've lived in this house 5 years and I didn't podcast anywhere other than this house, so
Okay.
it's been about 5 years. So about 5 years ago, a little earlier than that, I texted you and said, "Hey, we should start a podcast," and you're like, "Nah, I don't got time for that." And then like 2 weeks, then I was like, "Well, I kind of want a podcast, so I'm gonna try to figure this out on my own," and I didn't know dick about it. And then like 2 weeks later, you're like, "Hey, I started a podcast." Oh, cool.
That's not how I
Uh,
remember it at all. I was sharing. It was leading up to the 2016 election, so you do the math. But it was leading up to that, and I started sharing hashtag the system is down on everything
I
that had
remember
to
that.
do
Yes.
with the election. And at that time, when I started sharing it, I already had in mind. I don't remember. I'm sure we did have conversations. I know Cole was trying to get me to, or wanting to start a podcast and stuff too. Several people had the idea in mind, and I was just getting into listening to podcasting. But of course, everybody that starts listening to podcasting eventually is like, I can do that.
Hey, I can do this.
Hey,
It's easy.
I
I just
have
got to turn on the
opinions.
camera and I just got to turn on a camera and a microphone and talk. It's that easy.
I
No.
have opinions in technology and this over bloated sense of self-worth and narcissism. I could do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I
And
started sharing that, and then I started the podcast, and it was like a group thing for about one
mhm.
episode.
Yes, and then you got me on the next time and you're like, Cole couldn't make it, so it's me, you, and Nathan.
Right.
Okay, cool. And then the next week it's like, Nathan and Cole couldn't make it, so it's me and you. And then I was kind of, I wouldn't even say a part-time co-host, more of a part-time guest host off and on for certain conspiracy
No, there
stories
was
that
a. Oh, you mean before the news?
yeah, before Anti-News,
Yeah.
I would come on like every month or so and we'd dig into a conspiracy theory because you just didn't want to do the work, so I did the work for you.
Right.
And
Sounds right.
then
Checks
yeah.
out. There's a
That we
reason why I
can
don't
agree
talk
on.
about conspiracy theories all that much anymore. It's because nobody's doing the work anymore.
So then you started a second episode because we were doing you started doing the behind the scenes bullshit thing. So you do
Yes.
that every like once a month. You do a second episode or a bonus episode, and we just bullshit. And then somehow, I think by the second behind the scenes bullshit, we just started like
Talking about
ranting
news.
about stupid news and just running our mouths about news. And then you're like, "Hey, let's just start a second show just doing the news." And then we
Actually,
did
yeah,
that for a
we did a
while.
few anti-news episodes in the bonus, and at one point, Mark Claire was like, and this was like, I'm still pretty new, so this was quite an honor to have Mark Claire be like, "Hey, that news thing you do for bonus, that should probably be a normal show." And now it's so it went from that with you co-hosting the news. That was like I would do an interview, and then we would do the news like every Tuesday night as a live stream. And so I was doing 2 a week, and then that got a little too busy, and so I had to cut back on the news and just ended up doing more interviews. And then that turned into a bunch of libertarian stuff, and then that's turned back into less interviews and more news now. So whatever. The show is whatever the wind carries it to. I think some people
Yeah,
call that grifting, but I call it fuck you.
I
I'll do what I
understand.
want.
So from my side, I got released from the news because you didn't have time for that anymore. And I had just purchased like a bunch of podcasting stuff within the last year.
Yeah.
So I was just like, now I just have all this stuff. And I had just purchased a computer specifically to podcast with literally 1 week before you decided to stop doing the news.
Yeah.
And so Bill, who is my co-host of my current show,
De
he's a
Blasio?
coworker of mine. What?
De Blasio?
No.
Oh.
Yes. That would be awesome. Um, Bill and me, like after work or before work or during work, on our way out to our vehicles, we would just stand in the parking lot for 20 minutes and just like rant about the news and just do what we do now.
And then you felt
So
like it's a damn shame that nobody's around to hear us talking to ourselves for
basically,
hours
yeah.
at a
Well,
time.
I've said that on my podcast plenty of times. It's like, if you guys weren't here, we'd just be talking to ourselves, and we would do it too, and we
Right.
would not have a problem with it. But we appreciate that people actually come listen to it. So at some point, we had thrown around the idea of wanting to start a podcast at some point, and finally, I was just like, dude, we got to do this. Especially this was in 2020, early 2020, when all the COVID shit was kicking off. It's like, well, let's do it, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's where we got to where we are now. And if you don't know what my show is called, it's called the Break the Bell Podcast. That he's a terrible interviewer. He's not going to say that because he thinks
I didn't know
steal
this was an interview. I'll have you on sometime for an actual interview. This is bonus that very few people are going to end up hearing in the long run. So I was actually about to say we can break down this even further on we can get deep into the back lore on an actual interview someday. But
that's the back lore, so there's really no much deeper.
There's more, I swear. We grew up together. There's stuff. Shannon Lee in the comments says, and I quote, Craig. I agree with you.
Shannon.
Shannon is like the den mother of this podcast at this point.
Nice.
She goes around. She messaged me twice this evening. She was on. She was commenting on my live stream earlier, and then this evening she's like, "Hey, Justin O'Donnell and Karen Ann Harlos are talking about your video on this," and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" And I went and listened to that, and then right after that, she's like, "Oh, hey, I think it was Josh Smith and Clint from Liberty Lockdown Pod are talking about your video over here." I was like, "Are you just Google searching my name and seeing what comes up, or am I just very popular tonight?" And by popularity, it's like, it's weird to have a tiny bit of libertarian popularity and realize how little that means to the world in any capacity whatsoever.
It's like people know me, and then you get outside of that circle, and it's like, nobody knows me.
I am known by an angry horde of autists.
Yes.
These are my people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's been new with you? How's the show been?
Oh, it's busy. It's good. I love doing it. I hate doing it. All those things. I think you understand.
I do.
My
it's
show,
like an addiction where every time you do it, you kind of feel dirty because you know that you just wasted a bunch of time on something that doesn't really contribute that much to the world, but you also can't stop doing it. Like I said after 3.5 hours today, I said, I'm going to, I'll see you guys next week. I'm probably not going to do anything before that. And then as soon as I was done, I was like, I'm all jazzed up. I got to get more fix, bro.
I'm in the same boat because Sunday night, because we do 2 shows now. We do our main episode, which we usually break down like a main topic of what's going on. And I dig deep like I did with the conspiracy theory ones. Like, I don't just give the news headlines. I dig into like the history of what's going on. So if we're talking about like the president that got offed in Haiti, I'll do research into the backstory of Haiti and how they got to be such a shitty country to begin with and got to that situation. So then the other one is just basically what you did for the anti-news a lot, or what we did. It's just
and what
covering.
I still do now.
Yeah, I don't listen to your
know.
show that much. So
that's fair. I don't listen to her as much either.
We just cover basically all the other topics that we didn't cover in the main episode, because it used to be we'd spend the first half talking about all the stuff that's going on, and then the second half of the show we would focus on like one thing, and then I found that was going like 3 hours sometimes because I didn't have enough time to cover the main topic, and we were barely scratching the surface. So I'm like, let's break this into 2 shows.
Yeah.
And so we did. So Sunday we recorded our weekend wrap-up news segment where we just cover everything, and that went an hour. And then after that, I'm like, I'm tired. And then I was like, and then this Jeffrey Epstein story popped up. Did you hear Prince Andrew got let off? He's no longer being investigated.
I have not been up on this, and you hit me up to do a bonus like last week about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff.
That day.
And I was like, I don't know anything. I wish I could do that. I could not do it, but Yeah, fill me in. Fill me in as the guy who digs a little deeper on some of this stuff. What's Jeffrey? What's our boy that gets me kicked off of YouTube? Been up to lately?
So first of all, I was just saying that popped up, and I was like, I got to do an episode of this. So I recorded a bonus episode for that, and then Monday was our main episode, which is 2.5 hours long. And after that, I told Bill, I was like, I need to give my mouth a break. I'm losing my voice.
Something he's never said before.
And
so it was serious.
Bill is like, no, you'll get invited on somebody else's show later this week. And I'm like, probably not. And then you text me today. I'm like, yes, definitely. Let's do this.
Yep. Well, for me, it's like whether there's anything to talk about or not. You and I haven't talked about anything in a while. And the main reason is because you work during the day. I podcast during the day. And I do not communicate with family members or friends or individuals without recording it, because what's even the point? Once you're a podcaster, what's the point in having a conversation if it's not being recorded and released to the world? So I didn't see Craig at holidays because he refused to allow me to record it, and we haven't spoken in like 5 years since I kicked him off the show. So this is the most glorious reunion.
5 years, man, is a long time.
I don't believe it's been that long. That's impossible.
No, it has not. I was at your house.
I don't know.
But I think it's been since last winter.
I meant since you've been a part of the show. I don't know.
No, I said your show's been running. It's been maybe 2.5, 3 years. I've been doing my show for 1.5 years, and I probably took a year off. So it's probably been 2.5 years.
Okay.
So
anyway.
You want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, what the hell? It's late night.
Then, go sign up on patreon.com/breakthebell, and you can hear that bonus episode, and you can hear all about it.
Subtle.
No, so the thing that popped up that got my attention going, because I hadn't heard anything about any of this in probably 6 months since all the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff came out. Since her arrest, nobody's really said much about it.
I don't care how it's officially pronounced. It's Ghislaine.
Ghislaine.
Like if you're driving down a highway, there's the dry lane. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Fair.
Anyway,
so what was it like? That what's her name? Something Jeffries. What's her name? Her first name. Do you remember? The one that accused Prince Andrew of like raping her or whatever.
Remember. No, I don't remember.
Something Jeffries. I can't think of her first name. Anyway,
Jim Jeffries.
No, it's a girl, and it's It's with a G. It's Geoffrays or Geoffrays. Anyway, she had accused. You knew Prince Andrew was involved in all this, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't want to go way back.
What? The royal family? No way. I am shocked.
So, do you remember did you see his interview he did on BBC when all this came out? He finally, after months of people trying to get him to speak on this, he finally did an interview on BBC, and he was just like, I mean, it was a train wreck. It was worse than Richard Nixon debating against
You want to send
JFK.
me a link? And we can watch it? How long is it?
It's long. It's like a 20. It's like a late night Dateline special, pretty much, but on BBC.
Yeah.
So one of the things that she had said was she remembered him like dancing up on her before leading up to the moment where he had sexual relations with her, and she was 16 at the time. And one of the things she said was, he was really, because he was dancing, he was really sweaty and gross and smelly. And
We're
so
talking
his
about Prince
defense
Andrew or Jeffrey Epstein?
Prince Andrew.
Okay.
Prince Andrew at Jeffrey Epstein's estate, though. This all took place at Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
His estate on land or on an island?
I can't remember which one.
Okay.
Which one it was. I think it was one of the land ones. I think it was his New York one, maybe. Anyway, so his rebuttal to that was, that's not possible because I had this medical condition back then where, and this is going to sound weird, but I couldn't sweat.
I knew that's where that was going. That sounds like Bill Clinton argument right there.
Is that? Nope, that's not possible. And then the other thing was, no, I didn't go there that day. And this we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there.
Hold on. He said he couldn't sweat at the time, but he can now?
Mhm.
This condition went away.
Bullets.
Right.
He was sweating bullets during the interview.
I never
was
sweat until
pouring
this
sweat.
moment. I'm
Oh, this is the
royal
first.
blood. We don't sweat until we're actually put under the slightest bit of scrutiny.
So then the other thing he said was, I couldn't have been there that day. And we're talking this interview was last year, 2020. This
Yeah.
event took place like early 2000s, maybe I don't know, at least 15 years ago. He's like, I know for a fact I wasn't there because I had went to the pizza parlor with my kids that night and had
Oh,
pizza.
that's a terrible thing to
How the
say.
fuck do you remember that you had?
Right.
Well, yeah. First of all, the terrible references to that. Like, really,
Yes.
that's what you went with?
Yes.
Second of all,
The pasta fence
how do you-
conspiracy.
yes. How do you remember specifically that you went to a pizza joint that night
Right.
15 years ago? I
Yep.
don't remember what I ate yesterday.
So
at all.
did he say he didn't remember being with her or anything like that? Was his
said
memory
there's no
hazy in convenient
There's
places,
no
but he
possible
remembered?
way.
Okay.
There's no possible way because he was at a pizza joint with his kids that night. And he knows that for a fact because he never goes to pizza joints. And that day he just happened to go to a
Good
pizza
Lord,
joint.
man. Like,
Right? So,
it's like bad lie. Like, not even just obvious lie. Like, a child trying to get out of, oh, I don't sweat. And also, I don't remember anything that happened because I was at a pizza place 15 years ago or whatever. Like, 5 years ago. But
yes,
exaggeration.
yes, it's like the worst possible.
Was it Comet
lying
Ping Pong? Was that the place he was at? Just curious.
Probably. So that Jeffries girl has this kind of has a civil suit out against him, and then also the UK Metro Police started an investigation into him and any other Jeffrey Epstein shit. So this leads us up to Sunday night when I was just like scrolling through random shit, and I saw this article that said the Metro Police have dropped all investigations into allegations of child rape or whatever against Prince Andrew. Doesn't say why.
Right.
It doesn't say because it doesn't even say because there's no evidence.
He
to
was
support this.
found, he was exonerated because the evidence was overturned because it was faulty. Anything.
Nothing like that.
Nothing.
No, it just said we stopped.
It's over,
this
guys.
investigation.
We gave up.
We reviewed the documents and we decided to stop. Is basically all the article said.
Shocking.
That's it.
Truly
Right.
shocking.
So they said, the Metro Police said, but we are going to still liaise with who the U.S. whoever's investigating them from the U.S. or whatever. So they're going to cooperate or whatever bullshit.
Yeah.
But that still leaves the Jeffries lawsuit in place. Then it comes to find out.
It sounds like you're referring to Epstein when you say the Jeffries lawsuit.
Well, I'll just call her the victim.
I just like referring to Epstein as the Jeffries and the Jeffries lawsuit.
So the victim has this lawsuit pending against him. Apparently, so there's a few things here. Apparently, during his first trial, remember his slap on the wrist trial where he got like 13 months? He only like had to plead guilty to the one case of propositioning a minor for sex when like hundreds of girls were coming out against him.
Yeah.
And Alan Dershowitz got him this sweethearts deal where he just had to register as a sex offender, but then when he moved to New Mexico, he didn't have to register there for some reason, so he could continue his debauchery there. Yeah, all this crazy shit. Apparently there was in that settlement that he worked out with the Dersh, there's
The Dershbag.
something there. It's specified in there that it gives immunity to all co-conspirators.
How does that work?
Exactly. So
We've
anybody
seen
that
enough
was
evidence that anybody who was implicated in this is obviously also not guilty.
so he seems to think, well, on top of that deal where they all have immunity, because Ghislaine Maxwell, her defense lawyer is coming out right now and saying, I can't be tried for this because I was only involved with them back during the 2009 whatever, and I was under the pressure and I had immunity through that, so you can't try me for this. So that's her defense. On top of that, there was a settlement agreement, like where there's a victim settlement fund from
Yeah.
the estate. In that settlement fund, it says, "Hey, we'll pay you money if you don't sue the estate." So they get the money, but they can't come back and sue for more money. And some of these girls aren't getting jack. Some of them are getting some. Some of them are getting a lot. It's all fucked up. But apparently, in that settlement agreement, it also says you can't sue any co-conspirators. So that gets, if that's true, that gets Prince Andrew off the hook too
Right.
for the lawsuit. So she can't even sue him for that. That's what he's under the impression of. This whole settlement agreement, you're gonna like this. This whole Jeffrey Epstein Victims Fund. Apparently, there is one guy that has the market cornered on these high-profile settlement funds. You want to know some of the settlement funds he has written himself directly? 9/11 Victims Fund, the Boston Bomber Victims Fund.
Oh, don't say it.
Right?
Don't say the SH word.
What's the SH one?
Handy shook.
Oh, I'm not. I didn't see that one, but I know specifically. I know specifically 9/11, the Boston bombing, and the Jeffrey Epstein Fund. He specifically wrote all of those, and it's just like, well, now that we're seeing shady shit with the Jeffrey Epstein one, maybe we should go back to these other settlement funds and see what shady shit's in those.
It's staggering, and man, I mean, even all of that aside, just to like the common person who doesn't dig into any of this stuff deeply, just seeing the surface level stuff, when hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself is trending, it's a phenomenon of like this popular thing in the zeitgeist where everybody knows the system is lying just based on that alone. And you've got a situation where there was, like, you and I were covering Epstein stuff like a year or two before any of this came out. What?
Yes, because we were covering it before Epstein ever got arrested. I think we talked about it in the pasta fence episode. We talked about Jeffrey Epstein, and we're like, did you know there's this pedophile island out there? And we're like, what the hell? So we started looking into that.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later or whatever, it's like Epstein got arrested. We're like, I think I texted you. I texted you. I was like, Jeffrey Epstein just got arrested. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It was a time when like nobody, like no normal people knew that this was even a thing. And we were saying it. And of course we were crazy conspiracy people. So it didn't really matter. Just, I mean, it's not like we discovered it or anything like that. Like Alex Jones and I'm sure, well, Luke Rudowski was covering it long before that, and lots of people in that vein. But we like, it was amongst our types of circles, it was pretty common knowledge. So it was incredible for something like this to come out. And you wonder why I was, dabbling in the Q nonsense stuff. It's because Jeffrey Epstein, who we've been talking about, it turns out, headline news, he ran a pedophile island. That happened in real life. This is not a simulation. This is not in a movie. And this is the point that I've made a lot, but that I was getting to again, is that happened. And we all know that happened. And two people have been implicated as to the ties. Like that's pretty much it. Like there's all the names floating around there, but when it comes to actually things happening, Ghislaine got arrested and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And these two people ran this we're supposed to believe that they ran this entire operation. Like even Prince Andrew and that, like, like all these elitists are implicated in their association with this, but who else was running the island? Because you can't tell me a dude and his chick just set up an island and ran this entire operation on their own. I'm not buying it.
Well, look at the people that have kind of had the rumors spiraling around them. The big business, the couple business people that he made his millions off of. You have Les Wexner of Victoria's Secret. He's just paying him millions of dollars for what? For what exactly? You have that I can't think of his first name. Leon Black. He was like he was the CEO of some big company. I don't even remember what the company was. But that guy that was another thing that popped up within the last 2 weeks. So once this Prince Andrew stuff popped up, I'm like, what else are we missing? So I started digging up other Jeffrey Epstein stuff from the last like 3 weeks. Leon Black, this big CEO guy, back in March, I remember talking about this. He got forced to step down from his position because he made $150 million in 5 years from Jeffrey Epstein. Do you know what his services were that he rendered? He gave him, supposedly this is what the payment was for giving him like information on real estate, some information on artwork, and information on buying yachts. It was shit like that. $152 million.
His occupation was money laundering. Is that what you're saying?
That's what. Well, within the last 2 weeks, somebody came out and is accusing him of raping her at Jeffrey Epstein's estate now, and he's saying that's not true. And it's just like, maybe that 150 million wasn't for,
right,
like information on yachts. Maybe it was for some goods and services that Jeffrey was.
Hey,
Epstein
innocent
was
till
providing.
proven guilty applies when it comes to elitists, brother.
Only the elitist. I
Yes.
said maybe, possibly, allegedly.
Allegedly, very small chance.
So that came out. What else came out this week?
Did you see the Bill Gates interview recently about Epstein?
Yes, that one. That one was in the last 2 weeks too, and he got like all fidgety. Did you see the whole thing?
I've got it right here if you want to watch it together.
Yes, absolutely.
I gotta.
I showed it on my bonus episode. Yeah, I want to yell. I'll yell pause when I need you to pause.
Okay, let me give you a camera here. 1 second. We covered this recently on the
I covered it on my bonus episode. I covered all this shit on my. Oh, now I'm over your face. That's perfect.
My face isn't there anymore. Hold on. Over there. Here we go. So where we go? Yeah, I covered it recently. We've been doing a segment as of late, fairly regularly, and it's called.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. Now, if we do a really great job, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Gates Watch.
Yes, it's another episode of Gates Watch where we watch the creepy weirdo that pretends to be a scientist, medical expert, engineer,
Farmer?
and
Farmer.
and isn't actually qualified to do or speak on any of these things. Bill Gates, and the reason why I bring that up is because so it had been a couple weeks since I had done a Gates Watch segment on the show, and I was like, I wonder what. Surely there's some Bill Gates stuff going on. So I literally just went on DuckDuckGo, searched within the past week, just looked up Bill Gates, and it's like Bill Gates squirms as he's questioned about Epstein. So I was like, you got to be shitting me! Like that was way too easy. It should not be that easy to come up with controversial stuff on the man.
I think I just put in DuckDuckGo Epstein, and that was one of the first things that popped up. So
Yep.
It was there.
Why is my camera flipped? It's weirding me out, bro.
Who cares? Just play the video.
Okay.
Roll the film.
All right.
Reported at that time that you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that.
Just the awkward, like.
I like he's fumbling. I like how he's fumbling with his wedding ring that no longer exists because of Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Didn't even think about that. But yeah, like did you ever watch the show Lie to Me? About the guy who was like a body language expert.
Yes. Yep. That was good, and I was so pissed it got canceled.
Yeah. Now imagine this guy, like, if you take so on that show they'll have like a I don't know.
If they look off to the left,
somebody come in,
like
they'll have somebody come in who was like convicted of a certain something or other, and they question him, and he can tell whether they're lying or not. Now, if you watch this, if this schmuck was on Lie to Me as the whatever, the criminal, let's say,
The
like
unsub,
it wouldn't
as they
even be
call it on,
believable. It wouldn't even be a believable character because it's so obvious that he's lying. You'd be like, yeah, even I can tell this guy is uncomfortable.
Yeah, this would be bad acting for like primetime
Right.
crime television.
Exactly.
He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction.
I
Those
just throw out
meetings.
philanthropy and people like it. People like me because I use the word philanthropy a lot, and my philanthropy is doing philanthropical things.
Do you know much about Bill Gates' history?
Besides the creator of Apple, not a whole lot. I know he stole from like IBM. He worked for IBM and like stole shit and went and started his own.
Yeah, and he basically bought the software too. He bought the company, and it's like played up as though he was like this poor hippie in his garage who made this $1 million company out of it. No, he actually was born into wealth, and then he purchased a company, and then he maintained it and made it into the brand that it is, allegedly, or whatever. But so he was
really good marketing people.
Yeah, he was at one point in like, I don't know, the 80s or so, he was seen as like this greedy capitalist asshole, and that's when he started really focusing on this philanthropy thing really hard, and giving vaccines to all these other countries, and all the things to follow. And if you want to hear more about the amazing philanthropy that Bill Gates has done, because this man is a damn genius. He is a legend, and he deserves to be praised. Just go to Google or go to DuckDuckGo and look up Bill Gates vaccines in India and just see what comes up. It's amazing. It's very beautiful.
I mean,
were a mistake.
What?
He does great things. He does amazing work for the poor people.
He does. He's really good at slowing the ever-expanding overpopulation of this world. Whoops. Play.
They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continue to meet with him over several years. And
he shakes his head no.
Nope.
And then she's like, well, you did. Like, it's not
several
really
different times.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that. Several different times throughout those years.
Right. He's basically doing a Snopes fact check here. It's like, well, it wasn't several times over the years. It was like once a year for several years, but it wasn't several times a year over the years.
In other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well,
now that face, before he answers, that face.
What did you do when you found out about his?
It's almost like she's going off the script here.
He's like, wait, we didn't talk. Oh, I think this whole question went off the script.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about his philanthropy, and then all of a sudden she's like, and this is PBS News, which makes it
Who knew?
weirder.
Who knew PBS was like the only people who would ask the hard-hitting questions to a monster like Bill Gates?
Let's address the elephant in the room here, because I gotta know. What did you know about Jeffrey Epstein? He's like, well. He always starts with, well.
Well, we had dinner once. It's like, well, you don't just have dinner with a stranger, right? Like, there had to be some sort of preliminary conversations. You just happened upon a billionaire pedophile and asked him for funding. Well, we'll get into the funding later. Why does this keep expanding? Stop doing that.
Background.
Well. And, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
There's nothing, absolutely.
There's like 3 different times.
There's definitely nothing new on that.
I had dinners, and there's nothing new. That's it. That's all I'm going to say is I had these. I had these dinners.
Yep. Now, I think it's the next question.
Is there a lesson
your wife
for
divorced you? Your wife divorced you because you had these couple dinners.
What was the last question she asked him?
What did you do when you found out about his background?
This is the part that's the most confusing to me.
And, I've said I regretted having those dinners.
What she asked, what did you do when you found out? And he's like, I told you I regretted it. I don't know what you want from me. It's like, how hard is it? Like, even if you're lying, which you clearly are, even if you're lying, how hard is it for the smartest, most brilliant, amazing, philanthropic and wealthy man alive? How hard is it to come up with such a crazy lie as, I was horrified. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Like
a guy that
even if I was his brother and I knew and I was involved, of course you would, and everybody that didn't know would be shocked. If he had any shred of like innocence in this, he would be shocked by it. And even if he is guilty of something, how are you so stupid that you can't come up with the simple lie of, wow, that was crazy. I can't believe that happened. Act a little surprised.
You can tell he's only going on this one sentence that I had these dinners and there's nothing new. And
Right.
because he doesn't want to give them anything to run with later, but he gave them plenty to run with by his lack of
This
things.
is worse. Yeah, this is worse.
Dinners. And
I also like how everybody who has Bill Gates on feels obligated to use Skype.
Who the fuck uses Skype? I bought a Skype phone line just so callers could call into my show.
Yeah.
And immediately I started getting these local calls back saying, hey, with voicemail saying, hey, I missed a call from you, blah, blah, blah. Hey, so Skype, I think, is using my Skype number to spam call other people.
They're desperate. Yeah. I think I got that for a while, but it's been a while since I have. Also, if you want to call into the show, it's 309-716-3818. This show. Anyway, back to Squirmy Bill.
There's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for
This is my favorite.
anyone else?
Now, what would your lesson be? Like, whether you were guilty or innocent, what would your response to this be?
I'd probably say, man, I gotta really pay attention to who I'm bumping shoulders with because
Gotta vet my people a lot better,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe
That's
if
not
I'm
what
the richest man alive, I shouldn't be going to other people asking them for money because they might be involved in shady. Like, why did he need Epstein's money if he was the richest man alive at the time?
Well, it was for his philanthropy.
Yeah, but
He was wanting
as the
donations
richest
for-
man alive, what can anybody else give you? Like, how can they help you? You have more money than literally everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Who
I don't understand rich people either.
Yeah.
That's why we're not rich.
That must be it, yeah. And unfortunately, Epstein's not around for us to, rub elbows with or bump elbows with at a dinner that we just happened to stumble upon. Stop it. Stop doing that.
Hey, I got a story. But
What?
stumbling across dinners, bumping elbows with. Before you get back into this, the other thing I dug up was Katie Couric is releasing a book, her memoir.
Everyone's
and
releasing a book.
in that book, she talks about how she stumbled across one of these dinners with Epstein. And she only went there. They were invited by some other guy, apparently, because Prince Andrew was going to be there. So
Well, that
she
helps.
feels the need to come out now. Like they all wanted. This was less than a year after he got out of prison the first time. So they already knew who Jeffrey
Lord.
Epstein was. He's already a sex offender now, and she just happens to get invited to this dinner at this random house mansion in New York City that happens to have Prince Andrew is going to be there. So they're like, "Oh, Prince Andrew, we all love Prince Andrew." So
Yeah.
she was there. George Stephanopoulos was there. Woody Allen was there with his wife and some other people. And she wrote in the book she was creeped out by his creepy chandelier. She said it was like eyes
Yes,
wide shut
it's
on
the
steroids.
chandeliers.
She said it was eyes wide shut on steroids. She said the creepy chandeliers and body part artwork. And she's just now, 12 years later, coming out and talking about this.
Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Like let's say she didn't, as a news anchor, she didn't pay any attention to the news about Epstein at the time. Let's just give her that. Now, so that happened. You went there. You were creeped out. Fine. Let's say nothing happened. what, 10 years later, Jeffrey Epstein gets arrested, and is the biggest story ever, and he gets deaded, and you're waiting until when to bring it up?
Her memoir. She's waiting for her memoir to come out so she can make money.
So right
obviously.
after Prince Andrew starts taking some hits, then you feel the need to talk?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if I were Bill Gates, or if I were any of these people that were involved, I know, like, if I were their PR person, the only thing that you could do in a situation like this, and I'm not trying to give pedophiles any advice here, but other than kill yourself, but if I were in that situation, or if I wouldn't be in that situation, if I was a PR person for somebody in that situation, which I wouldn't be that either, I would say you got to get ahead of this. Obviously, you got to act shocked now before it gets out that you were involved in this. And now it's been, how many years has Epstein been dead?
Since 2019, so 2.
Okay. And now Bill Gates is still acting surprised that people are curious about why he was in bed with
talking about, speaking of PR, trying to get out in front of this, in 2019, immediately before he was arrested, like a month before he was arrested, somebody was coaching him for interviews because he was going to
Epstein.
Yeah, somebody was coaching Epstein because supposedly he was going to go on like a Dateline or something and give his, like, get out in front of it, like you were saying, get out in front of it.
Wow.
I want to know.
Okay, I don't think he can get out in front of that.
No, but they were trying to make him seem innocent. They were telling him, "Hey, you're not creepy. You're concerned. You're caring, and blah blah blah. You can't stop staring at the camera so much. You look creepy." Stuff like that. Do you want to know who was coaching him in 2019?
Was it Bill Clinton?
Steve Bannon.
Oh man.
Trump's like campaign advisor.
Oh.
And Steve Bannon comes out and said, "Yes, I did interview him for like 15 hours, but that's because I was doing an 8 to 10 hour documentary on him." And showing,
that's worse.
showing, he's like, I was doing a documentary showing his perversion and showing how basically the system propped him up for their own financial gain. And I'm like, well, that would have been great to actually do that. But when you're saying stuff like you're caring, you're not creepy, that doesn't sound like you're trying to show the perversion of him. That sounds like you're trying to do the opposite. Going to
require a deeper dig for me, because I didn't know Steve Bannon was even implicated in this stuff, and let alone coaching the man.
This just came out 2 weeks ago. So everything I'm talking about just came out within 2 to 3 weeks from today. So all this is new stuff that nobody's talking about, that is there if you dig for it.
Wow. That's troubling to say the least. I don't know that much about Steve Bannon, but he's like
he's Michael Moore for the right.
Right.
Have you seen him?
No.
He's like,
that's what I'm saying. I've seen him. I think he's been on Tim Pool a couple times, but I haven't. I don't know all that much about him other than he's a right-wing political pundit, whatever.
Just picture Michael Moore slightly more shaved and maybe 20 pounds lighter. He looks like a homeless bum. It's like, how do these...
I know what he looks like. It's not nearly as bad as 2021's Michael Moore. He's kind of collapsing in on himself like a dying star.
I guess Steve Bannon's like 10 years ago Michael Moore. It's like, how are these like homeless bum looking people becoming like the voice for a political side?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Fidgety Gates. The Bill Gates Gates.
Gatesgate.
Looking at this?
Yes.
Well, he's dead, so
rewind.
I know. Me too.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so
no lesson to be had.
No, play the rest.
In general, you always have to be careful.
I thought it sounded like a threat too. Yeah.
Or it was like, well, obviously he got out of that protection, so you got to be careful because he died.
Yeah. I don't know.
It wasn't like he never said you got to be careful of who you bump elbows with. It was, he's dead, so you got to be careful.
Right. You got to be careful of who finds out, basically.
Yeah, and that's
Or
it.
another way that I took this is he's saying, hey, you always got to be careful. Like, shut the fuck up and stop asking me about this thing.
You know
like,
who I am?
with her question being,
Anyone else looking at this?
like what lesson have you
Well,
learned?
he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
It sounds like a threat from the
Yes.
biggest dork that has ever walked the face of the earth. Like, hey, you
gotta be careful.
You gotta be careful.
You better watch
Not
it,
like
bub.
I'm gonna do something, but I have all the money and all the farmland and all the everything. So you
Yes.
better be careful.
You better watch it, bub.
Watch your back.
I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy. Very proud of the work of the
Goes back to
foundation.
philanthropy.
What was the question again? Any lessons to be? Oh, yeah. Any lessons? Yeah, my lesson is watch out. Also, philanthropy. Did you guys remember that I do philanthropy? Because that got me out of the hole in the 80s and the 90s. So just remember, our entire world is going to be a burning gas ball of fire in 5 years if you don't sign up for Windows 11.
If you don't philanthropize.
Yep. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's the end of it, I believe, anyway.
I don't know. That's where I cut it off. I don't know what happened.
I think that's where this one cuts off because it's giving me previews for the next thing there. Let me see.
Anything else?
Oh, that's
What
what I
else
get up
we got?
every day and focus on. Is all the only other thing he said. He gets up every day. The noble, wholesome, humble Bill Gates gets up every single day and focuses on philanthropy. I don't know how he has time to be so rich.
I love how specific he is too about his philanthropy. He doesn't even say anything that he's doing.
Right.
He just blankets it with philanthropy.
Well, it has a lot to do with vaccines and global population
it's-
and some
yeah,
really
he does-
shady, creepy shit.
Yeah, like when he says things like, so we have this really big problem with overpopulation, but I think through vaccines we can take care of
That
this.
was trending on Twitter the other day.
wow.
Yeah, that was trending.
Like years ago.
I know. Well, it was funny because I covered it. I was like, this is trending on Twitter today. And I was talking to Travis. We had the Gates Watch opening, and I was like, so they're saying that Bill Gates said this at one point, and you know the quote and everything. And I was like, does that sound familiar at all, Travis? And he's like, what do you mean?
The world today has 6.8 billion people. Now, if we do a really great job, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Like I've been playing it on my show as the intro for Gates Watch, and now it's finally trending.
I realize he said that specifically.
Oh,
that
yeah.
we could lower the population by 10, 15%.
That is what he said. It is condensed for the sake of an intro. There's more to it, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. He says, have you not seen the original TED Talk? Keep talking about something.
Are you gonna play the TED Talk too?
Oh, it's a short clip.
So, I'll caveat. I'll go on a side tangent. I wasn't sure because I know you talked about Dave Chappelle's special on your one of your latest episodes
Today.
and I hadn't seen it. Okay, so I just saw it pop up. I don't know. Sometimes I get late updates and stuff.
You can pretend like you were planning on watching it if you want to. That's fine.
No,
and you
no,
just
no,
haven't had
but
time. But
I watched it.
I
so
know the truth.
I was out driving around when you texted me and asked if I wanted to come on. And I was like, he's going to bring up Chappelle. So I got to at least watch this. So I turned it on and listened to it. Well, that is single-handedly, I don't care who's pissed off about it. That is single-handedly the greatest piece of art I have ever witnessed in my life. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful thing. And I don't agree with probably half the shit he said. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The way he...
Have you not seen his other Netflix specials?
Oh, I saw one a long time ago, but it was just...
He's
so
always been a
fantastic.
master. So he's always been a master. But this one weaved together so many emotions. Like it had you pissed off at certain points. It poked at the right. It poked at the left. It poked at some things that I would disagree with him on.
Gay people, trans people,
and that's why it was great.
All back together.
And that, yes, in the ending, not to recap everything that I just spent 3.5 hours talking about, but the ending, like the fact that this special is what is causing people to think, oh, he's this monster and he hates trans people. It's like, this was the most humanizing special that he's ever done for trans people.
Again, it goes to show everything he said in this special, he was 100% right on, because everybody who's pissed off at this, I guarantee you they haven't watched it.
Right.
And that's what he said about the trans people that are pissed off at it. And he's like, I guarantee you none of them have actually listened to my show, because if they listened to my show, they would know that I don't hate trans people.
Right. That was kind of the entire point, was saying, I've gotten shit for this. And I had this friend, and I gave her, he gave her an experience. He gave her a chance to, open for him, even though she sucked. And then he kept giving her the chance to open for him, even though she sucked. And she took the jokes. She rolled with the punches, and she defended him. And you know who pushed her aside? The trans community. People. And you know who didn't push her aside? Dave Chappelle. And you know who's trying to cancel Dave Chappelle now? The trans community. Not just the trans community. The showrunner for Dear White People. Do you know who it is? Do you know about the show?
I know of the show. I heard the name, and I said I'm never watching that.
The showrunner for Dear White People, which is a black voice speaking to white people, to my understanding, is written by a white woman. White trans woman. Really? But wait, there's more. 6 months ago, that white trans woman was a cis white heteronormative male. So, the show that you created to speak for black people, to get their voice out there, to help them, those poor black people. The show that you created for them with your white voice as a white, cis, heteronormative male is now being used to silence the most popular black voice in all at least all our generation, like not necessarily all time, but one of the most successful and popular black men in the world. You're trying to shut him up. And she said, I'm not trying to cancel him. I just want him to think about this and that and da-da-da. It doesn't really matter, because her show is on Netflix, Dear White People, and she said that she would boycott, which means she, I assume, would be pulling her show off of Netflix if they didn't take Dave Chappelle's show off of Netflix. So I'm not trying to cancel him. I'm just trying to make it so he can't earn a living or do his job or speak. Not trying to cancel him, though.
But
because I said it. Yes.
Did you see, I saw a headline today that it was like liberal and trans employees of Netflix like trashed the Netflix offices.
Yeah, they're doing walkouts. I think that came out after I did the episode today, but yeah, I read that they're boycotting. Yeah,
I heard they like trashed the office before they walked
out.
That's what the headline. I didn't read the article, so
yeah.
Anyway,
and there's been nobody who has done more good and simultaneously more damage to the transgender community and the transgender movement than the transgender movement. Mm-hmm. Because nobody would be like, most of the people that are annoyed with this movement, it's not because they're chopping their penises off. It's because they're doing shit like this. They can't take a fucking joke. And Dave Chappelle even talks about, like, I miss the old gays, like the tough gays, the gays that could take a joke. Now we've got these, like, weak, soft douchebags that just want to cancel people. And he's absolutely right.
No, he is.
If you want people to like you, don't be so insufferable. That's all. Like, if you want to coexist and the things that you proclaim that you want, which I'm not convinced are what some of you want, but if you want to, like, coexist together and be treated as equals and as normals, then you have to be able to take a joke, and that you should see that as loving. If you want to be included, if you want to be, what's the word? Like, you want the representation, you got to take the backlash that comes with being represented. And you're currently being overrepresented by a large scale. And you can't take a joke. Kind of comes with the territory.
If you want woke comedy in its finest, that great, amazing woke comedy, just tune into any late night comedy show of 2020 or 2021, and you'll get all the woke comedy you want. You'll get all the Jimmy Kimmels, the Jimmy Fallons, and all You know
You can
the
just
look
say
they,
one of the names because they're all exactly the same at this point.
yeah, you know the disapproving dad look that they give.
Mm-hmm.
No, the
Mm-hmm.
America, we need to do better.
Mm-hmm.
You know that funny, hilarious shit that you see on late night television now?
Mm-hmm.
That's not
Mm-hmm.
comedy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
the things
it
that,
gets clapter. Like people don't tell jokes for the sake of amusing people anymore. They tell jokes, quote unquote, which is just political views that the majority, the mainstream agrees with, and then they get
the
they
only
get
difference.
clapter. They get agreement. They
only
should be doing
difference-
TED Talks, not comedy.
I was gonna say the only difference between them and like the pundits, like the Sean Hannitys and stuff, is they people clap for them because
Right.
Sean Hannity doesn't have an audience clapping for him. That's the only difference.
Right.
And you get like woos. You got to have the woos in there too.
Woo!
Yeah.
this.
Oh yeah,
Because clapping
snapping.
offends people with
Yeah,
PTSD.
it overstimulates. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, Greg, do you think there's any chance that our country survives to 2024?
No. Mm-mm. Nope.
How do you feel about secession? Are you coming around? I don't know. We haven't talked in a while.
I'm all for it.
All right. I didn't know. We haven't really talked about it because things have progressed rapidly. Like it hasn't been that long since we talked, but the news cycle and everything, the collapse of every gestures vaguely to everything around him. All this stuff has gone downhill so fast since the last time we talked that it feels like it's been years.
Toilet. It's a fucking toilet.
Yeah.
My take on it is you have two sides that clash so miserably and have such miserably opposing viewpoints. Like it's to the point where English on the right is not the same as English on the left. There was studies that compared the English of like Fox News or Breitbart to the English of like CNN and MSNBC, and it like matched up like 65-70% is all. So we're saying even if we all said the same words, we're meaning something completely different because words don't even mean the same things on both sides anymore. Like we've gone so far that we're speaking a completely different language. And that's why it's so hard to even fucking get along with somebody on the other side because you're talking a completely different language. They have trained you that one thing means something completely different than your neighbor actually believes. And so when there's two such opposing sides on what is actually how a country should work, is there any point of keeping that country as one?
Right. It's two different realities. You can say
50%.
you can say the same sentence to two different people and they will interpret it entirely different and they both speak the same language. That is like living in two realities. And it's not even like it shouldn't even be seen as a negative thing from the left. It's like you guys want what I would say a shithole. You guys want that. You want to live under as much government control as possible. You want to get your free shit and whatever comes along with that, which is, of course, lockdowns whenever they feel fit. You want to have racism and segregation, apparently, because you want to have black spaces and white spaces, and I don't know what else to call that other than segregation. You want words to mean certain things. That's fine. I have no problem with you doing that however you want. And I don't care how we split it up. I don't care if it's in half. I don't care if it's straight down the middle. I don't care if it's by states. We could have 50 countries. I don't give a shit. Just why do my tax dollars and my votes represent somebody who lives in fucking Portland, Oregon? And why does theirs represent mine? We disagree fundamentally on what reality is. So why are we representing each other? Why I don't want a say in how you live your life. You want to say in how I live mine. All I'm asking is that you can have all the says in everybody's life in your country, but just get the fuck out of here. Just go over. Yeah, actually, no. That sounds too harsh. Don't leave. You stay. I'll go wherever it takes. Let's just split this thing up, and I'm willing to move wherever I can have you not be a part of my life anymore.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's like there's at the basic level there's two forms of anarchism. There's ANCAP and then ANCOM. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, ANCOM or ANSOC.
Yeah, the communist version or the capitalist version, which are two dichotomies.
In a
One
way.
sees like I legitimately understand people's views of, hey, we should all pool together and
Yes.
support everyone.
Yes.
We'll all pool our resources together, support everyone, support the poor. I fully understand that and I agree with it. And if that's what you want to do, go start a commune like the fucking hippie communes that did this back
Or
in
like
the 60s and 70s, or even now. It's like if you want to
or
do
like the
that,
Branch
that's fine.
Davidians.
But you don't need a government to do that for you.
Right.
Like, you guys can collectively get together, like the Branch Davidians, in a compound or a bunch of trailers or something on a piece of property and grow like a community garden and like everybody goes to their own jobs, brings back their money, puts it in a pool, and it's divvied out by somebody. That's
I
fine.
have
That's on
no
you.
problem with you doing that.
No,
Yeah.
I almost can see that as being
Kayla and I
a good thing.
almost moved into a hippie commune. The Japuza people from the people who ran Cornerstone. They have a commune up in Chicago, and we have some friends who lived there, and they talked about how great it was. It's just a little Christian-y commune, and they're total hippies, and they basically like they do that. They all have their role to play in the community, and they play that role, and they share whatever they come up with. And that's fine. You can do that. I can see the appeal to that even. But once you get outside of like 10, 50, 100 people, you basically have to convince, let's say, 50,000 people, everybody to agree that they have their certain role, and the community chooses what that role is, and they have to do that. And that breaks down so fast once you get outside of like, a certain amount of people. So
then you need
I think it can work, but it's even more of a pipe dream than just straight anarchy, anarcho-capitalism, free market solutions. Like that, as much of a pipe dream as that is, thinking that everybody's going to agree on everything and have that utopia is even more of a fantasy, in my opinion.
Right. And to have this mentality that, hey, we should just throw all our money at the government and they will efficiently do this, that's just asinine.
Right.
Have you been to the DOT and
Right.
seen how efficient that runs?
Or the DMV, if you live in this side of Corntown.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something. It left me. Anyway. So, yeah, split it up. Did you hear the Sarah Silverman thing where she was talking about peaceful divorce?
No.
Oh. Keep talking. Or start talking.
I thought I was talking till you pulled up the TED Talk with Bill Gates.
Oh, this is the thing. We're gonna like rehash a bunch of stuff that we've both individually talked about on our own shows, but we haven't had the chance to talk about together because this is just a conversation that we are allowing you guys to be a part of, and it just so happens that we are live streaming it. Yeah, Sarah Silverman recently was calling for a peaceful divorce.
I like that, and I'm not a huge Sarah
Silverman. Nobody is anymore. Especially since she's been, like, insufferable lately.
So, am I talking or are you finding?
Oh, here we go. I got it.
Okay.
Let me back this up. All right, here we go.
I mean, this may be a negative thought, or maybe a positive one. I don't know. But if people aren't getting along, like in relationship, they break up, So, like, why don't we just finally just realize that these states aren't working and like divide up into like 2 or 3 countries. Like
oh my God.
USA.
She has a podcast? She has a podcast?
I'm just now realizing that. I've reported on this, but I didn't read it.
Listen to her voice for an entire episode.
It's like listening to the child from Wreck-It Ralph for hours on end.
Totally. And this podcast like totally rocks. Right. And
now I will
53
I will certainly right. I will certainly bash on her for her inability to speak like a normal adult human. But when she says something good, I will applaud it.
Sure.
But yes, I can't imagine how many hours somebody had to listen to of this voice before they got to the point where she said something rational.
A1 and USA 2. And they can be USA 1. Like the conservatives can be USA 1 because they love being number one, and it means something to them.
Now, I think that's a funny joke, actually. And
I do too.
like, I'm not a conservative, quote unquote, but I come from that background, and I don't take offense to that. I'm like, she's absolutely right, and I agree with her. And I also don't care if you're number one or if you just want to be the United States of America, and you can call us, you can call us whatever you want. Like, I mean, she's
that shithole country,
right?
I don't care.
She's doing this as a slight in a way, but at the same time, I could not care any less what you think of whatever the other countries are called. Just let it happen. Like, you can call it the deplorable states of Trumpsbekistan, and I still won't vote for Trump, but I will live there if it's not where, communism is the end game, which is what the rest of y'all seem to want.
And I'd love to have that be theirs. They can be USA 1, we'll be USA 2, and we'll be allies. Good. And you'll come over here and we'll go over there, and
no, you'll come over here because we won't require you to be vaccinated, and we won't go over there because we don't want to be over there.
You'll come over here because you realize, oh shit, they still have the resources because it's working.
You'll come over here for trade and entertainment. And, it's just funny that everybody in Hollywood, I know we talked about this probably way back when you were on the show, but I've made this point so many times. I've made this point so many times, like, in a communist utopia, what do you think Jim Carrey's going to be doing for a living?
He's the court jester, not gesture.
Yeah, but we can only how many court jesters do we need? We've got a surplus of court jesters. Like, our main export is like thoughts and entertainment. So basically, most of the things we do are most of our occupations in this country that, gain the highest amount of wealth are court jesters, from the comedians to the actors to the sports people to everything. It's just all entertainment. What do you think your job is going to be, Mr. NFL quarterback? Do you think you're going to be entertaining, or you're going to be plowing a field by hand? I don't know. Seems like in a society where you are judged only on what you can supply to the community, entertainment's going to take a bit of a back seat once things start going to shit, which is probably going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
When you come to many times when you go to a different country, you have to get a vaccine.
Especially if you're a woman comedian. I mean, they can't tell a joke for shit. But if somebody's going to be hired to be the court jester, how many court jesters do you remember hearing about in history that were women?
None.
Mean, in fairness. Misogyny jokes aside, how many court jesters do you know by name from history? That's a damn shame, because they were probably the most interesting people. This is a weird side tangent. I was actually watching a video on the history of court jesters a couple days ago, and they were talking about like not the threat, but like the amount of pressure that they were under because they would have been killed, and the different stereotypes.
It's not you be funny or we boo you off the stage. It's you be funny or we cut your head off.
Right, and they were usually the people who had to deliver the bad news to the king, so they would be the messenger a lot of the time. They, according to this this person, so they were the ones who had to deliver it. And if they didn't, like when you see in like Monty Python and those old movies where the court jester, or they're like, "Don't kill the messenger," or the court jester is like, "Well, I'm gonna give you some bad information, but I'm going to couch it in some good information." That was pretty much their job a lot of the time, was to present the bad information, but to sandwich it between two buns of humor so that it doesn't hurt quite as much. Now, all this to say, if we get into communist utopia, how much business or what occupation do you think that washed up comedians that have resorted to podcasting? Like, when was the last time she did a TV show or a stand-up special or anything like that. How much value do you think she brings to society as a stand-up comedian?
0.
How about podcaster? A little
Less
bit more,
than
I'd
0.
say. I would say it's a little bit more because this is the first time I've heard her say anything rational.
Okay. All right.
So, a little bit.
That's that. By the end of the question, by the end of my answer, I have no idea what the question was. I don't think I'm anywhere near it. Click on the link in my bio to subscribe or follow.
No,
or click
stop.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's just bizarre to me that these people that, I mean, I don't care what their upbringing was. I don't care if they pulled themselves out of the gutter. These like Will Smith types or these like Madonna types that are trying to speak for the rest of us. It's just like, you don't have a fucking clue. You know how I know they don't have a fucking clue? And I probably said this on your show and my show both. Will Smith, on the day Obama was elected, he went on Oprah that day. I remember seeing it live. And he went on the show on Oprah. You know who Oprah is. You've heard of her.
Is she the one that gives away the bees?
Yes.
Have you seen that GIF?
No.
It's like you get a car or like whatever. Yes. She's like doing her thing and there's like bees flying out and people are crying and there's bees swarming around their heads and everything.
Will Smith goes on Oprah on the day Obama was elected and says, "Now I know we can do anything." This was the top paid actor in the world at the time.
Paid more than Obama.
Yes, much more. Oprah is the highest grossing woman at the time. Like highest paid woman at the time ever.
More than Obama.
Coming together and saying, "Now I know," because that guy has that shitty position. I feel he should feel bad for him. But now I know we can do anything. And it's just like, I could understand if like some black teenager in the ghetto was like hanging out with one of his homies or whatever they do. And he looked at his black friend and he was like, "Guys, there's hope. We can do anything now."
Yeah.
I could understand that. But to have fucking Will Smith making, I think at the time he's making, and this is nothing now, but back in 2008, this was a lot of money. He was making $15 million a movie, $15 million a movie, which was insane back then.
Yeah.
Saying to Oprah, who, was she a billionaire at the time?
I don't know.
Pretty damn close.
Like I'm not fact checking whether or not Will Smith or Oprah Winfrey made more money at the time than Barack Obama. I can just know based on, what presidents make versus that. Like, there were a lot of black people. There were a lot of sports figures. A lot of people making way more money, being way more successful. Yep. They just didn't have the ability to blow up brown kids in other countries yet. So, that's an important distinction. Now we can do anything. Literally anything.
Yes. And then you have Madonna in 2020. She was like saying how life is so tough for her being quarantined and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you have like a freaking town in your house. Like you have.
No. It's worse than that. She did her video from a giant deep bath filled with like milky white something and rose petals. She's like, we're all in this together. I'm never going to see the light of day again, and I will live perfectly fine off of my billions of dollars, and I have servants, maid servants, and manservants who will deliver my grapes to me in my milk bath with rose petals. We're all in this together. I understand your pain. I'm one of you. Go fuck yourself. That's the worst. And then all the celebrities banding together to do the Imagine song. Did you see that?
Oh, God. Yes.
Yeah. Where they're singing, "Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. There's no hell, no nothing. People don't go anywhere when they die." Like, everybody's families are allegedly dying around them in this mass pandemic, and you guys are going to get together and show your support by saying, "There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's nothing. This is nothing. Just imagine it."
Tone deaf much?
Grandma's dead. and she's gone forever. You'll never see her again. We
that
we
song-
understand you.
That's not the point of the song, but
I know.
yes, I get what you're saying.
It is now. It wasn't 2 years ago, but it is now.
Correct. So, all these tone-deaf celebrities that have the gall to get up and say, America, we can do better.
Yeah.
It's like, some of us can clearly do better than others, though. Like, you saying this, you being able to not ever leave your home and walk for a week and probably not cover the entire distance of your home. You're trying to say, we're in this together, or America, we can do better. That's the world we live in. And
by what we can do
I'm
better,
starting to believe that,
what do
I'm
they
starting
even
to believe
mean?
that like with vaccinating and stuff like that. That's like that's Jimmy Kimmel at his finest.
Right.
Is
We can do better by letting the government have more power. We can do better by
Yes.
you guys shutting the fuck up because you don't really matter. You're the poors. You're the plebs. You don't matter at all. Your opinion doesn't matter unless you get on board with the cult, because the cult is what is true. Join us.
Yes.
We can do better. Come with us into this this brand new CNN just called before 2020 or before 2019. They just referred to as in caps the before times.
Oh dear God, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
I'm not
What
kidding
what did they call the group in 1984 that everybody had to be on board with?
I don't remember. I'm a few chapters in my audiobook, and I still have yet to keep going.
I can't remember, but yes, we're in that where everybody is doing the same thing on the same page. Your kids
Was it
are
the United Nations?
Probably no. I don't know. It's a mess, and I'm starting to believe that no, America, we cannot do better.
And that's fine.
Yes.
Like I'm all about spinning this as Sarah Silverman did, and I think she did great, and I will applaud stupid people when they say smart things. Like, this shouldn't be looked at as we're going to split up, we're going to get this painful breakup. There will be some growing pains, sure, but
Yes, right.
if you had, like she said, if you had a couple, they were asking your opinion on things. They were like, we can't agree on anything. We don't even speak the same damn language. Like, she wants this, and she wants everything to be handed to her for free, and I just want to live my life and earn a living for myself. Maybe I'm making this too misogynistic
Be
sounding.
left the fuck
Let's switch
alone.
it around. She just wants to work for herself, and he just wants to live off of her paycheck. Everybody, even the most Christian pastors would even say, I don't like divorce, but you guys shouldn't be together. You guys are both
need to
toxic
use-
for each other.
You need to use your most evangelical pastor voice when you say that.
All I can think of is Obama right now, and that's pretty close.
No, it's like Southern white, like evangelical.
Brother, sister, thank you for gathering here today. I've heard your pleas for sympathy, and I find in my heart none, because you are both despicable people. You are toxic. You, sir, although you are right on everything, you are being a shithole to her, and she is stupid on everything, but she is a shithole to you. My best recommendation would be for you to part ways now before this gets any worse. And I would, if you had come to me 5 years ago, I would have said the same damn thing, because it was bad. Now it's worse. And God hates divorce. Now, mind you, can I get an amen?
Almighty God.
Can
You
I
gotta
get an
say
amen?
Almighty God.
Almighty Father God hates divorce. Okay?
Amen. Amen.
Now, he hates it. However, what he hates more than divorce, this is just me. This is not in the word. This is not scripture. But if it were up to me, if I were God, I'm not God. I will never be God. I will not eat that fruit. I will not drink of that. No.
Almighty God says, "Depart from me, evil sinner."
Get thee hence behind me, Satan. No, I think that, like anybody would say, obviously, for your sake or your sake, like I try to be sympathetic to the retarded left. I do. And I'm saying you guys can go be retarded all you want. That's fine. Just
I don't think you can
Just
say retarded.
let's go away. I don't want a say in your life. All I ask is that you don't make me have a say in your life anymore. Let's put it that way. Let's play on their grounds. You can have your government funded everything, but I don't want to say in it. You would be able to win that vote. You would have had this a long time ago if I wasn't standing in your way. So please cast me out of your society, but allow me to have a society, because right now they're currently trying to cast us out of society, but not giving us an alternative.
Yes. I like it. I agree. I concur.
Amen. Thank you.
So
Hallelujah.
I've asked several people this, mostly Bill. We see this shit going down the toilet in every aspect. Our economy is just hanking hardcore right now. I mean, they can tell you all they want. Hey, jobs are up. We're at an all-time low of 4.8%, and this is up, and the economy is doing so much better. We've added 500 billion quadrillion jobs to the economy, but there's all these ships sitting off the coast that can't get product to us. Businesses can't hire workers.
Inflation is good for the economy. I just read it in a infomercial on CNN earlier today.
Oh wow!
Inflation is good for the economy.
It's
now proceed.
And then not only on that, but on top of that, the government came up with these bills, these like big spending bills, and now they're to the point where they're like, we don't have money to cover this. So the only option for this is to borrow more money to pay the bills. If you don't allow us to borrow more money to pay the bills, the economy is going to go down the tube. You don't want the economy to go down the tube, do you? So you probably want us to borrow more money. So we got to increase this debt limit or mint a $1 trillion coin and drop it into the Federal Reserve.
How can you even hear that and think that these people are serious? Who decides? And that should tell you everything you need to know about the value of your money to begin with. If they think, I can, does it have $1 trillion worth amount of gold baked into this coin? No, they're just saying, I could make whatever and claim it as $1 trillion. What?
Do you know why it's not gold?
Why?
Because Congress approves the value of gold, silver, copper, and nickel. So it has to be platinum because Congress doesn't hold the power over platinum.
Because that is easier to just make up and pretend like it's a thing.
Number.
Yes.
George Stephanopoulos.
You know how much better it is when you have a platinum card than when you have a gold card, right?
Obviously.
So it's that much better, but a lot more than that still.
Or platinum albums versus gold albums.
Right.
Way better.
Mm-hmm.
George Stephanopoulos on his TV
what is
show.
Platinum?
I don't even know which one. I don't know. It's some kind of metal.
Okay.
George Stephanopoulos on his TV show asked Janet Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, the person that decides what we spend our money on. He, with a straight face, asked her, "Why don't we just print the $1 trillion platinum coin?"
It's like they've had this idea in their back pocket for a while. Where when it comes up, when it gets just so bad that people actually start giving a little bit of a shit, they're like, what if, what about this? We've got this here. You know what this is? $1 trillion. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I said. Because
that
you can't say otherwise. You can't prove it.
Like, if you didn't before doubt the actual monetary value of your money, and if you didn't before realize that it is all just made up bullshit, that alone should wake you up and make you realize this money shit is bullshit. It's nothing. It's worthless, clearly, because they could just pick up a coin and scratch out the billion. This was $1 trillion. That sounds like something Trump would do. He's like, why don't we just come up with just hear me out on this. We could just come up with a coin, and it's $1 trillion coin.
Well, it sounds like something he would have been selling on his website 6 months prior. That is just like a gold commemorative coin that says $1 trillion on it. Ha ha ha! And then he would go, "Actually, I've got this $1 trillion coin. This could solve all our problems."
The funny thing about that is the law that allows Janet Yellen to come up with this $1 trillion coin was because somebody decided that the Secretary of Treasury can have the power to mint and they worded it very vaguely because it was to mint platinum coins of the Treasury Secretary's decision. It was for the purpose of commemorative coins, like you're talking about. That was the purpose of this law. But it was
It
worded
was to
so
say, I'm going to
vaguely.
print some Trump coins and sell them for $20, not I'm going to print a random thing and sell it for $1 trillion. Yeah.
But yeah, it was worded so vaguely that they point at that same law that allows her to print commemorative coins and says, "Look, Miss Yellen,
You are
can
God."
Yes. Yes. And you can just literally take it to Jeremy Powell and give it to him, and he has to accept it. You have that much power over the Federal Reserve, and because, like I said, because it's platinum, Congress doesn't control the value of platinum. They only control the value of gold, silver, copper, and nickel. So because it's platinum, you can bypass Congress in spending altogether and drop this $1 trillion quarter in the bank, and it's worth $1 trillion.
It would buy you a Mountain Lightning at Walmart, but it's worth $1 trillion.
Exactly.
And their quarter pop machines. I don't even think those are a thing anymore. Thanks, Biden. Oh, Biden. No. Oh, Biden. That's what we should call it, because it's Obama's real legacy that's currently happening right now.
Dollar stores are going away because they can't sell shit for $1 anymore.
Now it's 350 stores.
I love it. The only thing I ever went to a Dollar Tree for was to buy like party plates and streamers and stuff because
stuff that doesn't matter that you're going to throw away right after anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Or the really cheap friend's mom goes and buys birthday presents for your kid from the Dollar Tree.
Yep.
So
me. Just kidding. I buy your kids presents from Dollar Tree, but not mine.
They never see those, apparently.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I've got a closet in my house that's got your name on it whenever you're ready.
You can start your own 350 store out of your closet.
It's a lot of baked beans. Yeah, they're worth a lot more now. The inflation has caused my baked beans to...
That is quite the investment.
Yes.
You dropped $10,000 in Dollar Tree presents. Now they're worth 3 points.
Well, I mean, there's those people on eBay that you hear about where they go to like dollar stores, Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees, and buy up some stuff and sell it on eBay for like double the cost because there's just deals or whatever. I don't know why. I don't know how miserable your existence has to be for you to put yourself through that kind of torture where you're buying like $5 things to sell them for $10 and plus $2 or $3 for shipping to get your baked bean sales in. But bean hustlers, I think that's what they're called. But yeah, imagine the killing that those guys are making these days with like they're just selling off all their pantry of old shit that they had stocked up because someday they'll be worth something. This is their moment. Enjoy it.
Yeah. This is what I lived for.
I was made for this. That's so sad.
Okay, so back to my question that I started with, and we went
way so off. Sad, and definitely somebody out there currently is in that exact position.
Yes, it is. So you're a sad sack.
Yeah. They're not listening to this, though, because this is bonus, and you can't afford $5 a month to listen to this.
That is true, unless you sold 5 cans of baked beans. So let's say just the debt ceiling alone. They're saying, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, this is going to send us into economic turmoil. It's like, why don't we just do that then? Like, can you look at me and say, I think we should just let this crash into the ground and just see what happens?
I don't like it.
I don't either.
I don't think anybody likes it, but absolutely. There's a deep down dark heart in me that is like, every time the government threatens to shut down, quote unquote, I'm like, great, please show us how little value you have once more. It's like when Michael's out of the office on The Office. And
yes,
or like after he gets fired.
Like probably 5 times this year on my show. Like The Office runs so much smoother. It was when not Mike, it was when Andy was out of the office.
Yeah.
Remember he went on his boat trip.
Yep. Yeah. So like there was this threat recently of, oh, if we don't expand the debt ceiling, then we're gonna have to shut down because we can't agree on anything. Which how does that work? Maybe you know better than I do, but what other business can be like, well, we couldn't agree, so we're gonna close our doors. I mean, you guys are still gonna keep paying us, obviously. We're still gonna keep getting paid forcibly by you, but we couldn't agree, and because we're squabbling, we're not coming into work tomorrow.
What other business do you know that can owe twice as much debt as they have revenue coming in each year? And to pay for that debt, they just borrow more money.
Yeah.
On top of that money. And
who are they borrowing all this money from?
It's I just did a whole episode on this, so if I sound like I know a lot about this, it's just because I just read
Caught
it.
you at a good time.
What's that? Yes, exactly.
Caught you at a good time.
It's all treasury bonds is what it is. And what bonds are is they're selling people their debt. So they give you a piece of paper, you give them money, they pay you interest, like 1% interest or whatever, whenever that matures. So that's what the debt ceiling is. It's not like, hey, we're going to borrow a giant sum of money. It's how many treasury bonds that they can sell. So it's how many worthless pieces of paper they can sell.
that they're writing for themselves.
Yes, exactly. So they give you an IOU, you give them $100, and it's how many treasury
bonds.
They
never give you that IOU back. They don't even give you the paper back, much less the paperbacks.
Well, to pay the debt for all the spending, like say the $3.5 trillion fucking thing that's going to cost $0, obviously, to pay for that or to pay on that, they sell these treasury bonds to make payments on that. So then they got to pay you back interest, which is more money. So they're just that much more in debt. So they're like, well, you want the government to keep running? No. You want the Social Security, and they always threaten the things that hit you the hardest. It's like, well, if we hit our debt ceiling, then Social Security won't be able to get paid out, and the vets won't get paid, and that $3,500 child tax credit we give you, we won't be able to pay that anymore. And so they hit you with the things that matter to you, and that just tells me that those are the things they prioritize the least, and they're going to axe those things the very first thing they're going to axe.
Gets you into action. Anything that gets you into action, they're going to hold it. They're going to keep holding that carrot out further and further. Yes. Don't you worry.
That's what I said about the $3,500 tax credit. It's like, why don't you just let us keep $3,500? But the reason is because then they can't dangle that carrot in your face and say, hey, you want this money? We're going to give you all this money. No, you're just giving me my money back that I paid you is what you're doing.
As the heroic Spike Cohen once said many times, when the government's helping you, they're breaking your legs and offering you a crutch. That's it.
I like it. That's exactly it. But then they're talking about this $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that's supposedly going to make this better. And that to me, and this is what I said on my show, that's like, say, you're in debt. You have a house payment you can't pay for. So you start paying your house payment with your credit cards, which is a really smart idea. Everybody should do that. Start paying your house payment with your credit cards.
This is not financial advice. We do not give financial advice on this show. Craig is not giving financial advice, especially since it's really bad financial advice.
Well, that's what I'm pointing out.
It was a joke.
Is how bad it is.
We're on YouTube right now, though, live. So I'm just saying.
Those credit cards max out. So you go take out another credit card to pay that credit card to pay your house payment. So then that doesn't pay out and those max out and you keep asking. And then finally you hit that peak where you can't pay that anymore. So you tell your wife, you know how we should get back on track here? I need to go buy a Lamborghini so I can drive to a job so I can pay for this. That's what the government is saying here. It's like, we're so far fucking in debt. Let's throw more debt on top of it to pay for it. And then to get us out of all this, let's throw a whopping $3.5 trillion spending on top of that to boost our economy.
Yeah. We're simultaneously talking about we need to expand the debt ceiling while Joe Biden is proposing the most massive spending budgets in record history.
And understand.
Like, why are we even pretending like the debt ceiling matters when we're talking about, like, if we actually cared about the debt ceiling in any way whatsoever, how would we be talking about, what, $6 trillion of spending that he's proposing?
Well, all the Democrats want to just completely do away with the debt ceiling. They just want it to go away for good. So one of the Democrats proposed,
I don't necessarily disagree with them on the basis that it doesn't fucking matter, obviously. But
it's just something for them to argue about and use as a
if it keeps them from getting other things done, quote unquote, then fine, argue about the debt ceiling. That's the only value it has at this point.
Well, I think the whole purpose is this. Yes, like, what's his name? Chuck Schumer, I think, came out and was like, what are you talking about? All the debt we're trying to pay on was approved by Republican Congress under Trump. So that's what we're trying to pay for. I understand that. Republicans were shitty at spending as well. This is old debt that we're trying to pay by borrowing more debt. But they're trying to do it by eliminating the debt ceiling. It just happens to coincide with this $6 trillion spending that Biden's proposing. It's like, oh no, we got to get rid of the debt ceiling to pay for your spending. Oh, but on the side, we got this this deal that won't go through. Janet Yellen even came out like 3 weeks ago, and I cannot find this fucking article anywhere that said, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, this infrastructure bill is dead on arrival. But I can't find that article now because everybody's going to point back to that and be like, well, she just wants to raise the debt ceiling for this infrastructure bill. But now they're saying, no, it's actually to pay off the Republicans' debt.
It's all theater. None of it matters. Like,
it is.
Obviously, I find it hard to believe that any of them are stupid enough to believe any of the things that they proclaim to believe at this point. Like you said, we're going to blame it on the last guy while we create the worst guy over here, but we're not going to talk about those in the same sentence. When it comes up that Biden wants to spend $6 trillion on everything under the sun, including Pakistani gender studies, like, I who cares? Let it crash at that point. Yeah, it will be tough. Like,
when you get somebody,
what difference does it fucking make? Because it's all just fiction at this point. The only way that it, like, even if you're talking about economic collapse, which I'm sure we're going to have one at some point, I'm not an economist, but it's like, if it means so little, then even if it collapses, I don't know how much impact it will have unless they want it to. I feel like as long as they want it to keep having the value that it does, it will in some degree. Like, if the prices will go up and down, but the crash only happens when they agree that it happens, because they can just print money and raise debt ceilings and say that it's worth this, and none of this has any
coins.
Yeah. Like, none of it means anything. Everything we're experiencing right now, from COVID to economics to the border to anything, it's all theater. It's all did you see man, I can't open another can of worms here because we're pushing 2 hours now.
We've got so many cans open.
We're going to have to do this like monthly.
Gates.
We're going to have to do like a monthly, just our spewing everything we've learned over the last month bonus episode. So join Craig's Patreon at
patreon.com/breakthebell.
And join mine at patreon.com/The System's Down. They should be pretty easy to remember since they're just the names of our shows. But what were we talking about? What was the can of worms that I almost opened?
You were saying even if the economy crashes, it's only it's all theater was the last thing you said, and then you mentioned a can of worms.
Shit, I should have expanded a little further on that thought.
You said the border crisis, the economy to COVID, it's all theater, and then you're like, then there's that's another can of worms.
Tune in next time to hear the epic conclusion to what I was thinking about the theater.
What is the can of worms?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a relevant other news story that would have taken us down a rabbit trail, but I think that's probably a pretty good place to end it. And we
never showed the Bill Gates TED Talk.
No, I pulled it up and it was like 20 minutes long. I wasn't going to be able to find the clip. So, yeah, go watch it. It's really just like a paragraph long of important information. So going through 20 minutes wouldn't have been worth it. But yeah.
So my
what?
final thing about that last topic was that if you get you always get that one person that like overspends and maxes out credit cards and then takes out a car loan and then trades in that car that's upside down already and puts that finance on another car, which immediately turns it upside down, and they just get wildly out of control. What always inevitably happens to them?
They kill
Bankruptcy.
themselves.
Well, that too. But bankruptcy, everything crashes to the ground. Yes, it fucking sucks. Yes, you got to get rid of your nice cars. You got to get rid of all this extra shit in your life. But that eventually, a lot of times, those people have learned their lesson and come back and do pretty big things. Dave Ramsey, the financial peace guy, he went bankrupt twice. 2 times he went bankrupt before he got his shit together.
Right.
And became like a gazillionaire and like teaches people how to manage their finances good. So why can't yes, that would suck if our economy crashed. But I feel like we're just they called it the fiscal cliff for a reason. I feel like we're just bumping it higher and higher. It's gonna crash eventually, but the higher
I feel
we
like
get
we're like. So we were headed toward the fiscal cliff as quickly as we possibly could, and now we're like still going up, but it's like off the cliff. We just got that little bit of momentum, and we're up here, and then you know what happens.
The cliff keeps going up a little.
The cliff is gone. We don't even talk about the cliff because it's back there somewhere.
Yeah, well, it's
we're
like
afraid of busting through the ceiling at this point.
We're standing on like the second level of a high dive. And looking down, we're like, wow, that looks really shitty. So instead of jumping off that, we're going to climb up to the next level of the high dive. And maybe this will be better.
I'm scared of heights. I can't climb down. All I can do is go up because I have to be able to see where I'm going because I'm scared of heights. Yeah, that's what it is. We're cats in a tree.
Eventually you're going to have to get down, like jump off.
And I think that my theory is that Joe Biden is a patsy for all the.
He's a puppet. He's a fucking he's Jeff Dunham's puppet. I mean, he's literally a puppet.
I'm aware. He is Obama, like I mentioned earlier. I think Obama's running the show, and Obama was even on an interview recently where he said, "If I could have had another 4 years, I wouldn't have wanted to be front stage or anything." But if I could be behind the scenes calling the shots while somebody else, he said this in Joe Biden's presidency,
he campaigned for Biden more than Biden campaigned for himself.
Yes, he did. And I had another point I was going to make on that, but it doesn't matter because we should probably be done now. This is what am I at? For today, I think I'm at 5.5 hours almost, pushing 5.5 hours. Yeah.
Damn.
I've gotten zero work done today. Actually, that's not true. I worked for a couple hours this morning before I had a meeting. Yeah.
I'm at 6.5 for the week, I think, total. So I don't know what you did the rest of the week, but total combined, I'm at 6.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I did I think 12 to 14 hours last week because I did 3 days in a row of main show and then bonus show after each one. So it was ridiculous, but it was just because there were some current topics in the LP that needed addressing in a hasty manner. But Craig, this has been fun, and we should do this on a regular basis. And
we should.
Eventually, maybe one day, we'll rejoin forces for something so spectacular that my bowels can scarcely handle it.
It's like we gross. It's like we planned this thing. We had this those shitty bands that nobody likes, but they're a cult classic.
Yeah.
And then they break up, and nobody liked them when they were together. But then 20 years down the road,
11 people showed up for the chat. That's what happens at those shows too.
Well, no, but then we keep hinting about this reunion, building up this cult personality thing, and then by 20 years from now, everybody's like, "Oh yes, that band was so fucking great. I remember them." And even them, they're like, "Dude, we got 15 people at our show. What are you talking about?" But then they come back for the reunion, and they have fill a stadium.
Right? They all have kids then.
That's going to be us.
That's right.
We planned this from the start, from day one. That was our intention.
Of course, we'll never be able to fill a stadium, not for like capacity reasons, but because none of our fans are vaccinated.
Correct.
Yeah, so hurdles. We will overcome. We'll find our ways. We will find a cornfield, and we will do our show. But Craig, thanks for being here, and tell people about yourself. Tell people about your show. Tell people about anything you got coming up and where they can find it.
I felt the wrap up there. I even reached for my mouse and went headed towards the outro button. Then I realized this isn't my show.
That's right.
You can hear me run my mouth all over the place at the Break the Bell podcast.
Everywhere on this one specific site.
Yes. Oh, I'm running my mouth everywhere through the Break the Bell podcast.
In all the jizz lines.
Yes. Break the Bell podcast. You can find us on any social media platform at Break the Bell Pod. Pod for podcast, POD, not the band, but for podcast. Otherwise, we're on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you can find podcasts. Basically, you can find us. Break the Bell. That's all. I do this.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to whatever this was, and I hope you enjoyed whatever it was. It's like we're going back and reliving our highlight moments of each of our shows, our most proudest points. And yes, it's like on a season of any sitcom ever when they get bored and they have that one episode that everybody hates where they're just recapping all the things they did. Because they're really proud of it and they're sad that we don't get to watch it again. That's what this is, and we'll do it again. Join our Patreons at / our show names, and you'll get
our respective shows.
That's right, and you'll get this whenever we feel like it.
Yes.
Until next time, please continue to question everything. Stay uncomfortable, be bad, have fun, and we'll talk to you next time.
And never stop talking.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. GoulashMedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.